Hello and welcome to Chaos to Clarity, the podcast that's your compass to navigate the exciting world of service-based businesses. If you're a determined woman in your current business adventure, striving to conquer the chaos and build your empire, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Maggie, your go-to business bestie and chaos navigator. I've spent nearly 2 decades in the service-based industry, building a photography business, a yoga studio, and now a thriving coaching practice. I've cracked the code to consistent income without all the chaos and noise. So get ready to increase your business growth, connect with your ideal clients, and find ease in both business and in life. It's time to turn your frustrations into inspiration and your chaos into clarity. So go ahead and grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and let's dive into the journey of building your dream service-based business together. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning for me anyway. I hope you are having the absolute best day ever. So today I want to get right to it today. Today I want to talk about the chaos of not having clients. So what does that mean? So the chaos of not having clients for a lot of us, for a lot of coaches or service-based entrepreneurs, is that you feel like, and I've definitely felt this myself, right? So you are feeling like, maybe things have run dry and you've been trying all these things here on Facebook or there on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you're kind of bebopping back and forth between one or all of them, okay? And at the end of the day, the thing that you want is just connection. So connection is something that I help people accomplish. It's something that I am really passionate about myself. And it's something that I have worked really hard on in my own businesses. So what do I mean by connection? So by connection, I mean, I love to create real conversations with potential clients, with collaborators, with referral partners, and then understand how I can utilize all 3 of those things within my business, right? I know that I am not the coach for everyone. Am I willing to help anyone? Yes, absolutely. But I cannot help everyone. So as you are on your journey to connecting with clients, here are a couple things to think about. So I'm going to give you my top 3 tips for client connections for creating real conversations. And I don't just mean like, hi, hey, how are you? Right? Like, I mean like real in-depth conversations where you are actually helping these potential clients right there, right? Like right in the DMs or right on a free consultation or discovery call, whatever you want to call that, right? So number 1, in order to create conversations, you need to have content that is inspiring, content that converts, right? So how do you get content that converts? There are literally a million ways. If you are looking for more of the free route, right, or lower cost route, especially if you're just starting or you're in a slump where you haven't had a lot of clients and you're like, oh my gosh, I need clients now, right? You're in that like chaos of, oh my gosh, right? How can we kind of take that energy and bring it back down here, right? Back down to an even cadence. What can you do right now to start creating content that's going to convert for you? So number 1, there are 3 types of content that you can utilize to help create conversations. Okay. So those content types are engagement, which are usually like questions, shout outs, things like can be as simple as asking like, what did you have for breakfast this morning, to start a conversation. However, a caveat right there, I will say, if you start asking questions, make sure they're relevant to what you're talking about. Okay. So for me, over the last month or so, I've been asking a lot of questions on my Facebook. And if you scroll down below, you'll see all the questions. A lot of them relate to your offer. Some of them relate to conversations, right? So I love to ask questions about how to start conversations, how your offer is, like what your offer is, right? Getting into some of the meatier things. Okay. So engagement, and then follow up on engagement. right? So point number one is creating content. And within point number one, there are 3 types of content, right? So the second type of content is going to be value content. And value content, you're usually like telling a story or telling some kind of like A to B, right? That story of like, oh, I went from A and then to B, and you are the solution, right? Whatever you're selling or whatever you're doing is the solution. So for me, I love to talk about how I create conversations, right? I used to be that kid in class who was scared to raise her hand and read. And I feel like the longer I'm in business, the more people I meet like that. So I just kind of wonder if we were all like that. But over the last 16 years in business, I've really found my voice, right? I've really found what lights me up to be able to get in front of people. Learning to teach yoga, honestly, was one of the best things that I did to help myself be able to stand in front of a group of people and be able to talk and not be scared with my notes, right? Scared reading my notes. So if you are feeling scared, right, and you're wondering, I don't think I can do engagement posts, give it a try, right? You never know. And engagement posts or value posts don't necessarily mean like talking in front of people. I can tell a story on a live, and this can be an engagement post. Bringing those elements in can really, really help create conversations, right? People like to be able to see you in the story, but they also like to see themselves in the story. So when you're telling the story, when you're telling this value story, make sure you're also bringing the reader in, right? You're bringing the reader in because your reader is or could be a potential client, right? And they could also be a referral partner. They could also be a collaborator, right? Someone who who also supports the people that you serve. Okay. So one thing that I really, really love to do is host my podcast. And I love to have conversations, right? I love to have conversations with people who are supporting women entrepreneurs, women service-based entrepreneurs. So I talk to a lot of different people. Why? Because it literally takes a village to grow a business. It takes a village to live your life, really. As much as I say I would love to live on 100 acres, like out in the middle of nowhere, like it still sounds great, but I still want key people in my life, right? Like I don't want to be a hermit. I still want key people. So keep that in mind as you are building this business, as you're building connections. How can you show up the best way possible for your business, for your people? Who are good collaborators? Who would you work well with? Okay, so yesterday I interviewed a woman who is she's a health coach. She's a women's health coach for women over 40, I believe. Okay, so for me, it was super interesting because I am almost 40, and a lot of the things we talked about, I am going through in my health, right? So understanding that, knowing that there are women over 40 in my audience who could probably utilize that, right? Like understanding that is super important, right? And I know she also talks to and has service-based entrepreneurs who are clients of hers who might be struggling with connection or showing up or really like growing their business. Okay. So that's where you can tell what a collaboration partner is. Now, a referral partner is a little bit different than a collaboration partner, right? A referral partner is someone you can refer people to. You can kind of refer back and forth. So maybe you're in kind of the similar niche, but your businesses aren't necessarily complementary. Okay. So like for me, I could refer someone to my massage therapist, right? I could refer someone to my chiropractor. I could also refer someone to the CRM company that I work with. Okay. So I hope that all kind of makes sense. So we're still in number one, right? I got a little sidetracked. We took a little detour, but we're coming back. So number one is creating content. So we've got content, we've got engagement content, which is questions, value content, which is creating stories. And then the third type is offers, telling people what you sell, right? Saying, my books are open. I have space, right? I have this thing. If you don't tell people about your offer, they're probably not going to know, because most people are not going to go to your website as much as we want them to. They probably aren't going to go to your website. So if you're telling them on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you are in a networking group, hey, I've got 5 spots open for one-on-one coaching. Great, right? And now, depending on where you are, right, also make sure you tell people like who is the best fit for this thing, because that is also something over the last 16 years of business I've learned the hard way. If you don't tell people who your ideal clients are, you're probably not going to get your ideal clients knocking at your door. Okay. So like if I'm in a networking meeting and I say, I have 5 spaces open for one-on-one clients, the best type of client for me is a woman in her 30s and 40s. She's probably struggling a little bit with connection, or she's feeling a lot of chaos. She just doesn't necessarily know. Maybe she's in a moment where she wants to pivot. She doesn't know if it's the right time to pivot. That's a good person to send my way. Okay. So understanding all of that. So a lot of this is going to take a step back for you, kind of lay out the groundwork of, okay, where do I want to go? Who do I want? All of this stuff. So keep that in mind as you're building this. So coming back to point number 1, content, right? Content. And I will say consistency is good. Consistency is great, but also know what consistency is for you, right? Consistency could be once a month. Consistency could be 3 times a day. There's lots and lots of variables, and also just understand like what that looks like, how that feels. So stepping back and writing down or planning out, okay, I can show up. It feels good for me to show up 4 times a week. Start there and test it, right? Test it. Does it feel good to keep doing this? Do I feel rushed? Do I feel overwhelmed? Do I feel chaos? Right? So bringing that in and always kind of checking in with yourself. That's also something I learned when I was teaching yoga, was to encourage people to check in with their body, right? I learned how to teach power yoga. If you've ever taken power yoga, you know that it's a hot mess, for lack of better terms. It's hot, it's sweaty, it's fast. You're up, down, all around, and then all of a sudden you're done, which is great. And I honestly love hot yoga. I love power yoga for that reason, because it's kind of like a scramble and then you're done, right? And you come out of Shavasana and you're kind of like, what just happened? On the flip side, I also love slow flow yoga, where you can really kind of lean into and stay in some poses. So that's where you need to really decide what kind of chaos, what kind of clarity do I want to be navigating, right? Do I want the chaos of, oh my gosh, I need to show up every day, but not with that attitude, right? It can be, oh my gosh, I get to show up every day, instead of, oh my gosh, I have to show up every day, right? It's the same words, different tone. So it comes back to, what are you thinking? What are you telling yourself? I'm excited to show up every day. I get to go live. I'm going to create this. I'm going to create that. But also be realistic about it. And as you're going through it, does it feel good? If it doesn't feel good, it's time to shift, right? It's time to play around. And it doesn't have to be a huge shift. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? I used to think that too. It had to be all or nothing. It does not have to be all or nothing. Okay. So content, consistency, but also answering your messages and connecting on your posts. Okay. If you're going to start creating content, you've got to create the content, and it's got to be content that your people want to read. And if you're not sure, start asking. And that's the beginning of your content. There are millions of Facebook groups. There are something like, I don't know, there's 9 billion people on the planet, or almost 9 billion. And I think there's like, I don't know, 1 billion people on I have no clue. There's a lot of people on Facebook, wherever you are, whatever platform you're on, there's a lot of people on there. I promise you, there's a pool of people who want to work with you. So understanding what they are asking, understanding what they want to answer, how they want to answer it, right? There's a lot of variables, and there's a lot of ways for you to kind of ebb and flow and shift and just kind of understand what you're doing, right? So as you are creating content, just understanding what your audience is responding to, and are they your ideal audience, right? There's a lot of ways you can test that. Number two, making sure that you are connecting with said people. So if someone is commenting on your stuff, you go back and comment on their stuff as well, right? Like you comment back. And that's where I see a lot of people losing sight of like, okay, I have all this content that I created, but I'm not connecting with the people who are commenting on my content. You're missing out on an opportunity here. That is your opportunity to ring the doorbell of your next door neighbor to say, hi, I'm Maggie. How are you? Right? Connecting with people in the comments is a great way to open the door. It's a great way to understand, number one, like, okay, you're answering this on my content, maybe then this, right? So maybe you ask a supporting question to the one you asked, or if they're asking a question about the story you told, right back to them, right? And then go ahead and get into the DMs and not in a spammy way, which I think is funny. I think it's funny that I have to even say, like, don't get in the DMs in a spammy way, but that is where we are, right? So how do you take your Facebook content and get it to conversation in Messenger and or on Zoom, right? That's a bridge that a lot of people, it's hard to bridge that gap, right? It's hard to create that bridge between content and DM. So if you are wanting to bridge that content, this is step 3. The best way to do that is to comment back on your content. So you have a piece of content, somebody writes something underneath it, you comment back to them, and then you can send them a DM to say, hey, hi, I'm Maggie. Thank you so much for engaging on my content. I would really love to know more about you. It can be that easy. That is how you can start a conversation. So if you think back to grade school or when you were a little kid, and maybe this is more apparent for me because I have a little kid, right? Like I have 2 little kids, and Maida, she's almost 6. She's in kindergarten. I've watched her on the playground, right? I've watched her when I've taken her to the park. How does she approach other people? Because as a mom who's almost 40, making friends is hard. And like, to me, that's so odd, right? Because I get in my head and I think, oh my gosh, what if that mom doesn't like me? What if I don't look right? What if this? What if that? Right? And that comes back to understanding, like, how are you talking to yourself? So that is also a piece here that I could go into, but I'm going to save that for a different day because we're not getting all meta, if you will. So when my daughter is on the playground and she is going to make friends, what happens, right? She literally walks up to a kid and says, hi, my name is Maida. Do you want to play? Yes or no? And if the kid says yes, great. Do you want to play over here on the swing set? Okay, let's go. And it can be that easy, right? It can also be that easy in business, right? So you've got this piece of content, someone has commented, you've commented back, and then if it checks, right, that is the bridge in this gap. If it checks, if they are an ideal client, if they look like an ideal client, add them, send them a message, say, hi, hey, thank you for commenting. I appreciate your answer. See what happens, right? And understand where you want that conversation to go. So again, going back to the first point, sometimes it takes a little bit of planning to understand how much you want to show up, what kind of content is going to convert, right? What kind of content is going to stir up some of those conversations. I always tell my clients, start with asking questions. Why? Because a lot of people love to answer questions. And if you're going to bring human design into this, if you're asking questions, there's a whole bunch of nuances to this, but how can you, so I'm a manifesting generator, right? I inform and respond. Generators, you're going to respond. Manifestors, you're going to inform. Projectors, you're going to put your stuff out into the world and say, this is what I do. Look at all this cool stuff, right? So for projectors, value posts are going to be amazing because you can tell your people all about all the things you do. And then people will want to know more information, right? That's just how projectors work. And then reflectors, you are like the golden goose. You get to just reflect everything, right? To say like, there's just so many cool things. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because otherwise this will be an hour and a half long. So create your content, right? Create your content, connect on your content, right? Answer people. And you have to post the content more than once in order for this to work. Okay. And I know this from experience. There have been times in my business where I've posted once and been like, it doesn't work. And I have the 2-year-old temper tantrum. And then what? It doesn't work because I've told myself it doesn't work. So telling myself, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I've got my plan in place. I'm going to post 3 days a week and I'm going to show up for 10 minutes a day and engage on other people's stuff because that also creates conversation. So you're creating content, you're engaging on your own content, and you're also engaging on other people's content, which is the beauty of groups. Okay. That's the beauty of Facebook groups is sometimes you don't even necessarily have to post every single day. You can post like 1, 2, 3 times a week. But as long as you're engaging, people are going to start to notice you. They're going to start to see you. They're going to start to have conversations with you, right? So having a conversation does not need to be overly difficult. And if you're wondering like, but how do I actually do this? Make sure you go ahead, either drop a comment below or get into my DMs. Let me know that you're interested. We'll hop on a call and we'll see where you need help, right? Because oftentimes a 20-minute call can usually bring things back into alignment where you'll be able to go out and start connecting with clients. So if you're in the chaos of not being able to connect with clients, check out your content. Is it content that's converting? If not, there are tons of tools to help you create content that converts. But I'm not going to lie, oftentimes the simpler the content, the better. Why? Because it's easy to understand. And I don't mean like kindergarten level content, right? I mean like asking a simple question. And it can be something like, how do you take your coffee in the morning? Do you drink coffee or tea? I don't know. There's tons of content that you can stair step into to get more and more detailed, to connect deeper and deeper with clients. So again, content, answer the dang comments. Answer the comments. That is going to be a hill that I die on. Number one, because it helps the algorithm. So when people say the algorithm doesn't work, a lot of times I'll ask them, are you answering your comment section? And a lot of times the answer is no. That's going to help your algorithm. And then 3, tell people thank you for connecting, right? The simple act of sending a DM, adding someone on Facebook, as long as it checks. And that's something else I'm going to get into in a different live. Like, what does it mean when something checks, right? And I say that a lot, and it's probably more, a lot of people will understand what it means, but some people also won't. So I definitely want to get into it because I think understanding what checks and what doesn't check is really important when you're creating connections with clients. And then again, 3, having conversations and be a real person about it. Don't be spammy. Don't be spammy. So if you need help with any of that, right? Like having the courage to create the conversation. Ooh, I love all those C's. Chaos, clarity, have the courage to have the conversation. Get in my DMs. Send me a message below, right? I can't wait to connect with all of you. I hope you all are just having the best day ever. And I will talk to you all so soon.